We have all of our parts cleaned and ready for reassembly. Just wanted to show you guys, this is you can see that little dot. When you put this in here, make sure you put it in the right way. It goes toward the back like this. We're going to put, you can put grease. I'm going to put some anti-seize on it. This is the washer I was telling you about. I'm going to see if I can get this to focus. Right here it says outside. This is the second washer you put on here. And then these washers are supposed to be flat on both sides, but you can see it's got some wear in it here and here. Also got some wear on the axle. This is where a seal rides here. You can see it's got some wear there, as well as this is the other side. This is where the bearings sit. This is where the other seal sits, and you can see some wear. And this happens when you get water, dirt inside of it, your seals, and then it just starts to wear it out. And over time, you'll actually have a groove develop. You can just pack this thing full of grease, and as long as you're not riding a whole lot of water, it'll be fine. We also cleaned up the inside of the brake pedal here, foot brake pedal, and the post. You can see down here, this post right here, clean that up with some sandpaper. We're also going to put some lubricant on the brake cable. It's really something you should do routine maintenance, at least once a year, and you don't run into these issues. We're gonna pack this stuff full of grease, and then we'll show you how to reassemble this. We're about to reinstall the axle, and you need to make sure that you put grease in this area right here. Let's see if I can get the light in there. Need to put grease in this area right here before you install your axle. Make sure that this O-ring here is in place on this step right here, and be sure and grease this. See that that's where that seats right in there. Alright, then you just install your brake drum and then your brakes. Make sure you clean this brake drum really good. I put a little bit of sandpaper on this surface here, cleaned it up, had rusted, and put some grease in here on these splines before you install this, being careful not to get any grease inside of the brake drum. Just push it all the way back till it seats. Now we're ready to install our brakes. Already installed the brakes. Put brake cleaner on them, they're ready to go. You want to put a little grease on this post right here and on this actuator here. Also want to make sure you put a little grease on your O-ring so it stays in place. It goes around the outside of right here. Alright, so we're installing our brakes. Being careful not to get any grease on your brake shoes. Sometimes these things can be a little aggravating to get seated. Yeah. Alright, once you get that on, you're going to want to put this spacer in here. This is your O-ring groove. It'll go to the outside. This goes to the outside like this. Then you install your O-ring. Find it here. The O-ring, it goes in that groove. Make sure you get it down in there. Now we can reinstall the bolts. Be careful when you tighten these bolts down. I'm not sure the torque value on these. It's not very much. I've seen these things stripped out and you do not want to have to deal with that, trust me. Always like to put some grease in this area right here. This washer's going to be riding right here on this. So you actually need to get a little. Next we're going to put this washer on. This one's worn pretty bad. You can buy these at your local parts store, and they're not too bad expensive. And be sure you put this on the correct way. See if I can see if it'll focus. The camera will focus. It says outside right here. Flange nut first. Then plain jam nut go on after. I think the torque on this nut right here is over 100 pounds. There are manuals online that you can download for free for most of these recon. This is the first generation. I think 21 was the third generation from 2000 and the middle of 2005 until 2020. 19 was the second generation, and the 21s or 22s, I'm not exactly sure. They haven't been out. The new third generation body style haven't been out long, but they're all basically the same. Running gear, basically the frames are the same with a few different tabs welded on and to accommodate the different body style. Okay, we're going to reinstall the arm. Notice there is, if this camera will focus, a dot that you need to line up with this one. Spring. See that little tab? There's a hole that goes in right there. Now when your brake shoes are brand new, these dots need to line up perfectly. Once they become worn, you can move that back if you need to a little bit. Once you get your spring mounted, just line those up the way you want them. In this case, it's worn. The brake shoes are worn a little bit, so I'm going to move it back just a shade from where it normally would be. Maybe one tooth. Just a little bit more bite, and I'll show you what that looks like when we install the brake cables. I want to show you guys real quick. You can use WD-40 or any other kind of spray lubricant. They actually make spray lubricant for your brake cables. It's a good idea to, especially if you ride it in water, you can buy one of these little units right here. It clamps down so that the spray lubricant will be able to pressurize and go all the way up through your cable. Okay, once you get your cable installed on the pedal, you're going to make sure you have it, your cover off here, so you can reinstall it back here. Foot brake cable goes in this bottom hole right here, like this. Brake cable is at the top. I'm gonna do the same thing on this cable as we did this one. Put a little WD-40 whatever spray lubricant you have on it. Right. Reinstall your spring here and here. Then you're going to want to come back here and adjust your brakes. So when you push this lever forward with your hand, you're going to want a little gap between this little barrel and the front of this. Yeah, you can see a little gap. That's what you want. Then you can do your handbrake cable the same way. Right. Reinstall your spring here and here. Then you're going to want to come back here and adjust your brakes. So when you push this lever forward with your hand, you're going to want a little gap between this little barrel and the front of this. Yeah, you can see a little gap. That's what you want. Then you can do your handbrake cable the same way. So we've got these adjusted, and as you ride this ATV, you may need to adjust these a little bit more. That's just a starting point. Push this forward. Should have a little gap. You want a little gap when you push this lever forward, and that gets it at least in the realm of where it needs to be. And the reason I moved this back, I showed you these little punch marks. When you put a brand new set of brake shoes on, you want these to line up. And you can adjust this. You just remove this bolt at the bottom, and you can pull it about halfway off and go back one tooth. And that'll give you a little more adjustment back here on these wing nuts. So we're going to install our hub and wheels and tires, and we're going to be ready to go. Alright guys, I hope that helped you out. Planning on doing some more videos on the Honda Recon. I've got one myself, and a friend of mine's got one that we're going to be doing some work on. And at some point this year, Lord willing, I'm going to do a video on how to rebuild an engine on one of these. I've probably built I've owned probably maybe 24 of these Recons over the last few years. They're great ATVs. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.